Nature of Predators, Book 2, Chapter 94. Memory transcription subject Taylor Trench, human colonist, date standardized human time, March 18th, 2161. My head. I felt disoriented, though of course I'd heard concussions could do that. Everything had a dreamlike hue, down to my fingers feeling like they were a mile away from me. The explosions kept crackling off around me, as sheer rage at the unfairness of the universe coursed through me. The Krev Consortium was breaking into the cavern to drive us out by first, catching us completely blindsided. Everyone knew what would happen when the herbivores saw our faces, but maybe we needed that to frighten them off. God, was there any way a hapless predator could find a safe haven? We couldn't even have a life at 1% because of my failure to furnish the rent payments. Giant pink birds had drilled through the walls, and upon closer inspection, it seemed that some of the humans were species traitors, siding with them to attack us just to save their own hides. What were they promised? To give up everything we'd suffered so much to protect. I hated the Xenos, who persecuted us in every corner of the galaxy we ever dared to exist. But our own people, killing the last vestiges of our kind, they were the worst. I just want to go back to home to Earth and live a life where I can be authentic and happy. There is nothing but misery in my existence. What is the point of survival, and why does everyone universally agree that we deserve to fucking die? Through blurry vision, like the fog that sealed over a mirror from a shower steam, I could see the cowards hiding. The fact that they must have learned that we were predators from the sellouts was why they'd advanced the raid. Since they hated us, the Krev had more courage than the Federation to still fight us and maintain their tactics. Surely the humans helping them knew their safety blanket wouldn't last past the minute our bodies hit the floor. Grief threatened to envelop me at my failure, that our entire mission wouldn't succeed at furthering our species. This was the end of everything if we failed, but I didn't know how to shoot a gun, not really. I was so afraid of dying, and I didn't know why. The lights and the shrapnel were overwhelming, but I was desperate and cornered like an animal in this little tunnel. This was the last chance to fight. Maybe I could take some of them down with us, even as we faltered. I hurled a grenade through the opening in the wall, not knowing how it found its way into my hand. Before I knew it, one came clattering back. Those human traitor weasels. Why was I reacting so slow? It was like my mind was lagging under the stress. The explosion knocked me back my ass, and I could feel that my limbs were no longer responding. I couldn't feel any of my lower extremities. Oh God, I was going to die. A fuck ton of my body had just been blown off, and I tried to gasp and wriggle. I attempted to plead for help, but I must have been too mangled. Even the tears weren't falling, though I could feel them trying to claw their way out of me. I looked down at the floor, wondering where the blood was. My head wouldn't move. I turned my eyes up as the consortium and the traitor humans walked in, stepping over bodies. It was like the drilling accident all over again. So many humans killed senselessly, lives that no alien would ever care about. I wish I could butcher these bastards like the predator they want. It was so difficult to string together any thoughts that weren't just angry. I was confused by the absence of pain, but maybe I was in shock. That was something that happened to be when they lost a lot of blood, and my head had already been fuzzy. I tried to gasp as the traitors led the way into the cavern, having the goal not to only spearhead the pack, but to wear the blue helmets of the United Nations. They were mocking the history of the long-gone planet Earth. I tried with the last of my willpower to move towards the traitors, until I caught a glimpse of the one's face. It was my own, with longer hair and healthier, tanner skin. On the actual fuck, this Taylor Trench was walking side by side with Gress, blue binocular eyes focused on me and filled with disgust. How could the Krev have cloned me through the concealment gear and everything, just from going out on the landing pad? Maybe there weren't traitors amongst the colonists. I didn't understand. Wait, why was his gun still drawn? I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die. I surrendered. You know, was that Teresa's voice? She's whispering to someone, not to other me. She sounded like she was underwater. Maybe a few tough security guards would mount a better fight, but I thought she'd already been with us. Not that many colonists went through the brain scanner at checkpoints, Zephyrus. I bet any robo-humans are mostly just me's and Taylor's. A goggled voice responded. That is unusual to think about. I will help you take them all offline. Robo-humans. Talking about me, saying there's lots of me's, but I'm not a robot. No, that must be the other Taylor. What the... With hate in his eyes that I recognized all too well, the other Taylor angled his gun at me. I tried to speak, yet I couldn't say a word. I was already starting to forget what thoughts had crossed my head and what happened to me in the first place. Guns, invasion, hurt, wish I was never born. There was a trace of something like pity in the doppelganger trench's face, which gave me a glimmer of hope. I was erased in an instant as several cracking sounds permeated the fog, and the world switched off before I could blink. Memory transcription subject Taylor Trench, human colonist. Date standardized human time, March 18th, 2161. Biting through waves of robots was made manageable by high-powered explosives. The problem was when they all started retreating towards the bunker, hoping to reach it before us. The Legion was programmed under some delusion to hide amongst or execute the civilians. We started flying through encounters, needing to catch up to the bots. I couldn't imagine what was going on in their heads, assuming there was anything at all. I still thought about the first robot that I'd executed point blank and twitched, and how I'd felt stepping over its body. All the Krev Metal Soldiers data was likely being streamed back to the Consortium's central headquarters down here, wherever that may be. Perhaps humanity could access the logs and learn more about how their control had worked, to ensure there was no chance of breaking it for any future encounters. Right now, there was no other option but to destroy them and not get tangled up in sympathies. General Rodai was right. Many of the rescued soldiers were likely built after him. It weirded me out, the more I thought that these things that I was shooting might be me. The Earth humans didn't need to worry about the evil empire using their brains for the machinations. I tried to focus on the details and distract myself. There is a distinct lack of Smigglies and Orcs in the fighting army, since they're not very solid combatants. Krev, Jaslips, humans, and Rescueds are the ones who they think could hold out their own in a fight. Some soldiers had rode off on motorcycles to catch up with the hostiles, though I wouldn't have a clue on how to handle such a vehicle. It looked cool, though, to try if I ever got back to Earth. Now that I had met my biological father as an adult, even to know both his face and his mannerisms, I could picture him teaching me how to ride a bike. I could imagine little Taylor taking a tumble in the street and him stonewalling me and insisting to get back up. Maybe that was his parental voice that I was missing to harden me up a bit. It was what I needed to hear now, when I couldn't afford to stumble. I refused to duck for cover as we reached the bunker, firing at the metal bodies who were seconds from cutting a large enough opening in the compartment. I could hear screaming civilians trapped inside, as UN soldiers shouted at them to stay away from the automaton guns poking through the gap and spraying anything nearby. I chucked every last grenade I had clipped to my belt, then kept spewing bullets at anything silver for good measure. Gress nearly ran out in front of me, charging for the entrance mere seconds after the automaton group were downed. "Lecker!" Gress screamed, loud and shrill enough that it sounded like he was tearing his vocal cords. I sprinted after him without thinking of my safety, glad to have longer legs. "Wait for us, please. You're not helping anyone if you charge off without thinking." Sharice shot a sideways look at Quana. "You could say that again." Carla took flight as she matched my steps, soaring to a higher vantage point to scan for Lecker. As tough as it was to believe, I was glad to have Crocodile's aerial aid. The Krev citizens were elated to hear the United Nations announce themselves and promise a rescue as we hurried them back towards the escape shaft. I ran up to every child passing by to be sure, but none of them were the one we were looking for. There was no response to Gressa screaming her name. General Rodai wasn't far behind us, forming a protective shield with his own body between himself and the escaping civilians. If advancing robots shot them to spite us, the rescued was ensuring that he'd take the bullet. "You!" a civilian screamed in an agitated voice, shoving the pink alien. "You're one of them! You're the Consortium's military leader! A fucking delegate!" Rodai didn't fight back, simply gesturing the way out. "Once I was. I was a puppet as much as any other robots. I would never have gone along with this. But they took any control I had away. All I ever wanted to protect the people. So please, let me protect the few that we have left." "It wasn't Rodai's fault," Quana barked, to my surprise. "I don't trust Rescueds not to fuck us over, but he isn't capable of this. Just go. This is your only chance to get off-world. There's little time. Follow the humans to the shuttles. The Jaslips and Orcs Alliance hadn't been intending to hurry Kriv's civilians to safety in their march on Avor, but I could see the Zephyrus allowing Kriv children to ride on his tail as he made a detour back towards the ship. Charisse had it right. He was secretly a softy, not wanting any younglings to get left behind. None of the kids the Grey was toting were Lekka, however, squashing my last hope. I turned my head towards the landing caller, who shook her head in the negative. I bit my lip, walking up to her hysterical grass. "She's not here, Taylor," the Crab screamed, after wandering through the empty bunker listlessly. "Humans rescued everyone here." I wrapped her arm around him. "There are other bunkers. A few shuttles even got off to the orbital ring before they exploded. This was the largest and closest safe spot to where she might have been, but it isn't the only one. No stone left unturned, right? We're not giving up." "They took everything from me." "Russ, they didn't take me. We have each other. We have a chance to make them pay, right? Don't you feel it so damn angry, even if it's far beneath that grief? You want to be sure they're fucking wiped out for what they did to you. I know it." "I'm with you, Taylor, for what they did to the Jaslips and, I suppose, also to the others. They must die," Quana growled. "Our suffering does matter." "They use all of us. They think that they own us, down to our very minds." Gress blinked away tears. His eyes hardened as he raised his gun. "Not today. I'll save whatever hostages I can, and I'll take them down with me. I'll run my claws through them for what they did, just like Mafani." The Crab stomped off without leaving any room for argument, following the path that led deeper down to the sealed-off complex the UN drones had found. I could piggyback off his outrage, heaping more onto my own. We had to lower ourselves from the catwalk at one point, similar to rappelling down towards the Civkit bunkers. This time, the hidden secrets underground had been unearthed before our boots touched cement. All that we were untangling now was where the tunnel's network led, connecting their legion to any points of interest. The underscale central hub didn't impress as we battered through the walls and found our point of entry to be eerily vacant. Sapien Coalition forces stood shoulder to shoulder, sweeping through the dingy corridors for any signs of consortium activity. Inside each room where we poked our heads, we saw walls of screens depicting various feeds from across the globe, though most were dead. This must have been where the surveillance operatives watched their citizenry. The robotic clones, likely, were all that made it possible to monitor all of this, even with AI flagging things. Their defenses sprung to life as we opened the door to the server room, where we sought the opportunity to hijack the consortium's remote control of their automated assets near and afar. Before we buried the Cursed Legion, it would help us bring their entire scheme to a close if the United Nations could assume control of their drones. Well, it was most likely that the other planets had already been bombed to a crisp. This would stop the KC from continuing their glassing against their own people. It might save a few lives that would have otherwise been lost. Our foes, of course, didn't want us to snatch that small victory away from them. Automated turrets blast a flurry of bullets at us, tearing through walls and flesh alike. It caught my eye how Quana and Gress didn't shy back even in the hurricane of incoming munitions. Neither of them feared death, though they expressed that in unique ways. If Radai hadn't stayed back to shield the civilians en route to evac, I imagine he'd been in the same boat. It felt like I was in the minority, wanting to survive this bout, though I understood what it was like to feel that it wasn't worth it, that the world was better off without me. "Why did the wall guns curse randomly?" Icerin shouted, not fitting the mood as she crouched at the back of Charisse. Charisse grunted, tucking her body off to a side room. "I don't know why. Because they have turrets." "Okay, where the fuck did you even learn that?" "I have my ways." I crawled forwards, finding that the quip did help me take the turrets less seriously. The armor-piercing rounds for the Legion ripped a mechanical gun off its hinges just fine, as I picked it off as it swiveled towards Gress. My boots scrabbled on the slick floor while I darted to catch up. The robot sent a fuck-ton of bullets sizzling by, with a few replicant humans in their midst to throw grenades. UN forces led at the front lines, using shields to deflect grenades, shrapnel, and bullets alike. Every second that we let the Krev Consortium remain at the helm of these automatons, we're stuck in this fight, and more people will die in turn. I glanced at the far side of the room, following Griss's eyes. I could hazard a guess at his thoughts. after what he'd said aloud about sticking his claws through the Legion's heart. This was their heart, in all of the glory of rows of stacked towers. Someone needed to get to their servers and plant the bug, before they could sabotage it. I didn't want to watch Gress sacrifice himself in a final cry of defiance for Lekka, to take them down with him. I all but tackled him, preventing him from running off with Quana. "No, I won't let you," I hissed. Gress writhed in my grip. "Let me do this one fucking thing." "I will, and I'll do it alongside you, but I'm not letting you throw your life away. You wouldn't give up on me, even when I deserved it." "Damn it, she doesn't deserve it, but," she sighed before cupping her hands to her face. "Quana, come back." The Jaslip charged ahead as we all watched with horror. Explosives were clamped in her jaw. She looked like she could have been the one to bomb the delegate's tower. Almost. And that made me wonder about several things. After seeing how possessed she was with anger, much like spiraling Taylor, she'd been willing to direct it at anyone. Quana ignored Sharice's shout and continued on despite the violet blood erupting across her stark white fur. This was a suicide mission if I'd ever seen one. The same as when I charged Carla, because my face had been revealed. With a last glimmer of light in her eyes, Quana leapt into the robot's midst and let go of an impressive mouthful of explosives. Sharice and I both gasped in horror, witnessing the friend we'd endured boot camp with choose a suicide bombing as her ultimate end. Even after not seeing the Jaslip for a long time, it was shocking. It stabbed at my heart. Was this how Gress felt, watching me charge the UN, defiant to the end? The grisly plan worked to blast dozens of metal soldiers to bits, after the payloads rolled and clattered throughout the room. The robots weren't expecting that play, so they didn't have time to bring the roof down before our sabotage. I can't deny that it worked, but just why? Was she that lost that she no longer wanted to live, only to take them out en masse for what they did? Sharice choked back sobs. "I can't have hurt her so much. I would have followed her to the fucking Federation's heart, but why did she have to blame everyone and everything to value revenge above her friends and her life?" "I wish I could say I didn't understand, but I was there once." "You're not to blame, Sharice, for her demons," I responded, hearing my own voice crack. "That wasn't going to happen to Gress, though. I'll cling to every second I have in this universe with him, whether he likes it or not. If we're chasing revenge here, it'll be more methodical than that." Hycerin seemed a bit taken aback, but tried to keep Sharice in a cautious position. "I agree. Sharice didn't have to be dragged down with her on a jealousy-fueled descent. You don't have to let things you've done and seen take your soul." "I second that," Clara chirped. "Quana made her choice. Let's not speak ill of her any further. We make it count and ensure that we're never so fanatical about anything, because that's the real danger." General Adai had arrived to support our group, having sprinted at rescue speed to rejoin us after escorting the Krim civilians to safety. I took it that was a piece of good news to soothe us, since that must have meant their departure had gone well. Zephyrus had not yet reappeared, since Arxels was several paces slower. For Greg's sake, I had no intention of waiting for anyone else to join. I crept ahead towards the door to a small control room, where we'd insert the code and get the fuck out of here. Maybe once we tap into the Krebs systems, we can use their surveillance to look for Lekka. The UN was supposed to get her out before they learned the truth. They could have gotten a message to your ex and perhaps succeeded in that somewhat. I tried to press the horrifying image of chunks of Quana's torso arcing out into the wall from my mind, and steadied my voice. I pressed a hand to the door handle, tensing my legs. "Our answers are here. We'll find her." "You already have," a mechanical voice spoke the second I pushed it open. Even in robotic form, it was obvious which sadistic monster I was speaking to. He painted his skeleton in the hopes of looking like his prior form. Mufani was holding Lekka up in front of him with a gun to her skull, which caused my breath to hitch my throat. The irony was that the prospects of Gress's daughter getting out from Avor had been slim. It was the Underscale's personalized torment that had kept her alive to this point. "Daddy! Over, Daddy!" Lekka screamed, knifing my heart. Gress fell to his knees. "Please let her go. I'll give you whatever you want to do with your service. Why are you doing this?" "I expected you," Mufani chuckled. "I knew I'd get my victory in the end. I would be brought back, and I could ruin your life from the shadows, when you least expected it. Perhaps at a wedding, or... No need for her to make it that long now. To be free to do it in your face is a joy." Radai recoiled with disgust. You're truly free, aren't you? The Underscales are brought back as themselves, obviously. We're the rulers, and the rest of the people in the consortium. Just games of our amusement. Or mine, anyway. We wanted you to know about the Sifkit bunker, since it makes the Federation look scarier. I chose to do it in my own way. Telling you about the Jesters was just so that you'd know what a joke you are. That there's nothing you can do to stop us if we kill a few people here and there. How can you call yourself a rescue? Quite easily. I don't grovel for the approval like you did, a sad old man who does what he's told and thinks himself a pinnacle of moral supremacy. And no, I won't duel you this time. How will your honor handle that? My honor means nothing to me. I wouldn't be working with the stealthy Orcs or operatives if I had any left, would I? No, he wouldn't, Zephyrus chuckled. The Oxal's shadow had blended in perfectly with the darkness as Radai seemed to have forwarded our location to him. He crawled through the ceiling and popped out behind Mafani in silence, slipping the bug into the control panel undetected. The Underscale had been so distracted watching us that he'd taken his eyes off the prize. With the off button for the entirety of the Robot Legion and the drone fleet now in human hands, we could take the consortium forces down. Metal Mafani shut off in an instant, falling lifeless to the ground and releasing Necker, his gun also clattering away. We did it, all of us as a team. Humanity got the bastards, swiped the rug out from under them. The outpost they used to control everything left them vulnerable to having it all taken away. Necker ran towards Gress, bawling her little eyes out. Daddy, you came. Of course I did, my little precious darling. I didn't leave you. I hope you know that. Gress embraced her, shooting a grateful glance at Zephyrus and Radai. I couldn't come home, but I've missed you so much, and you will fill me with more love and joy than I could have imagined. You make me the proudest father in the galaxy. I understand. You were taken away by the big overs, just like Mafani took me away. I wish I was taken by Taylor too. Did you find Mom? The metal bird grabbed me at school and I don't know where she is. I cleared my throat as Grez looked at me for help. I think she might have been taken away too. If the United Nations didn't rescue her, we might not be able to get her back for a long time because she's too far away for the big obers to reach. Is Jura gone too? Probably. I'm sorry. We're very happy that we could rescue you though, and I'm going to try to help you feel better. We can have a wonderful life as a family back on the big ober planet. Does that sound good to you? Yes. Then it's settled. What do you say that we get the hell out of here, Gress? Please, Krev snuffled. Radai stomped her foot emphatically. We have what we need. Row this place up and don't leave a thing standing. Relieved to have gotten Gress's daughter out of this nightmarish place, and to have kept him going long enough to find her, I hurried back towards the shuttles that would take us home, to Earth. I hoped that with the consortium gone, we'd be able to put the Federation's legacy behind us, once and for all, and live the peaceful life I dreamed about. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.